a week where we discuss all the latest in pop culture news and reviews, gaming news, entertainment news, and just a nice one-on-one discussion that I have here. I'm Price of Reason, and of course, this is my co-host here, Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Doing well, doing well. Thanks for being here, and thanks for everybody hanging out with us tonight. We got a few things to talk about here. Obviously, right off the top, we got old Gavin Newsom to to get to. But yeah, how are you doing, Price?
I'm doing okay. I mean, I don't want to sound like Bono in that song, but it's I'm somehow relieved that I'm not in Los Angeles. Although it's not that I actually know some people there, and the people that I know are actually good people. And it's not that I was very concerned because the fires are like 20 minutes away from them, and you never know with these winds. So I wouldn't want. First of all, I don't wish this upon anybody, even the people that
Absolutely not.
really annoy me. Uh, as much as I'm okay with sitting and going back and forth and sparring and talking about whether it be politics or entertainment or whatever it is. I'm happy to do all of that. I don't enjoy seeing people losing their homes. That's a different matter. That's not
Yeah,
something that I wish upon anybody. Even the most annoying of people,
yeah.
that's something that I don't wish for
Yeah,
them.
and there's been a lot of people that have been talking about, oh, look at this star that lost their home and this famous person that lost their home, whatever. And I instinctively I kind of react and I'm like, oh yeah, big deal, because this super wealthy person, whatever. But I understand that those people's lives are being affected too, and whether they're people that I particularly agree with politically or not, yeah, I mean, I completely understand, and I don't wish them ill, and I certainly don't wish anybody to get harmed, anybody to be injured. Don't want anybody to lose memories, and everything that you can have that's wrapped up in a home. I do get irritated with the focus, though, on some of these incredibly wealthy people because they didn't lose their home; they lost a house. So most of them have like multiple houses. It's like, you know what? I'm sorry Paris Hilton lost her, beach house or whatever, but I'm sure she's not homeless. There are
No, she'll be
there's a
fine.
lot of
She'll be fine.
people there's a lot of people that are in really bad shape, and yeah, my heart goes out to them. This is a horrible tragedy, and yeah, there's going to be a lot of blame to go around. That's
Oh,
for
of
sure.
course, and I think that amongst some of the biggest blame that you'll see is on Gavin Newsom, who's really not in the hot seat right now, and really, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never been a fan of Gavin Newsom, and one of the reasons that I haven't been a fan is that I'll just share something about myself. Is that during the coup, during the international illness, there were certain things that I was involved with on a business level that also had to do with stuff that was happening in Los Angeles, in California and Los Angeles, that had to do with entertainment. Certain policies and certain decisions and things that happened with Gavin Newsom during that time ultimately ended up uh, affecting the bottom line of people that uh, associates of mine that I did some work with, and also myself. And the way it went down, including when he told everybody that they couldn't go to work, that they couldn't go anywhere. Then you see him go to restaurants and he's without masks and all that. At the same time, he also was saying that it's important that everybody kind of they got to lower the curve. I don't know what they used to say at that point. We got to lower the curve or whatever. There was some nonsense like that, right? Lower the curve.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Remember? Do you remember that? That you
Flatten the curve, yeah,
flatten the
yeah,
curve, that was the dumb thing. Flatten the
yeah.
curve. So basically, he said you got to flatten the curve. He goes out to restaurants, flatten the curve. Basically, no place is working, and there was already a feeling that there was like maybe in the summer things are gonna start going back to work. Certain things were supposed to happen, and then there was the whole George Floyd riots. And suddenly, the guy that was saying that you can't go anywhere is saying everybody go outside. Everybody, he's encouraging them to riot, and I don't know what. First of all, rioting, you're ruining people's business, so that I already don't like. Uh, I also didn't like the fact that considering that we were quote unquote flattening the curve, when there's suddenly a million people march in the street and they're all breathing on each other, the curve wasn't being flattened. Not only wasn't it flattened, exactly the opposite was happening. So basically, the one thing that he kept everybody at home because it was so important to him, except for himself, then became not important because sort of the more left wing or
Yeah.
ultra left wing were trying to push some kind of agenda, so that superseded the idea of flattening the curve. It's
Yes.
just it was just it oozes from all this hypocrisy, and I'll say
Yeah.
that at the end of the day, then he goes and he says, "Well, the numbers are up, so now people can't go back to work."
Yeah.
It's
It
like
was
it was
yeah,
really frustrating.
the hypocrisy was wild. And on top of that, targeting of certain individuals, certain groups, specifically saying, "Oh, well, you can have this meeting and you can do that. And you can go congregate in the streets for whatever, but you're not allowed to meet for a religious service. You're not allowed to go to church. You're not allowed to go to your synagogue. You're not allowed to do those things because oh, well, you're going to be too many people together in an area." It's like even if they were observing social distancing, even if they were making up all sorts of crazy weird rules like, "Oh, we'll see if you're in a service and you're singing, you're going to be spreading the virus more." It was all nonsense. It was all absolute hypocrisy. And yeah, there are so many things to to say about Gavin Newsom and the
He
wild stuff
just
that went on, COVID and otherwise.
he's just always come off as a very hypocritical person. I you know, there are certain politicians that I may like more and may like less. Somehow, this guy, for many different reasons, has never rubbed me the right way. I tried to explain this to somebody. I don't know who I told this to recently. That he seems like a guy that if I was in a movie and I had to cast somebody that looks like the governor of California, I'd cast him as an actor, but to actually be the governor, he looks like he would be the slippery governor of California. The only problem is that like he brings no, even like a good slippery governor, he does something. I feel like aside from looking the part, there's nothing that this guy does.
Yeah, the slick
And
back hair and yeah, the way he talks and the way he interacts with people, just ugh,
he
yeah,
has the kind of the bullshit whatever. Sorry, Sean.
yeah. Sorry,
The
Sean.
kind of way that he talks and schmoozing and all that, but he doesn't really have any substance. I mean, really, if you think about it, he was given billions and billions of dollars for those homeless programs, which didn't seem to help the homeless.
Yeah,
I nobody
yeah,
even knows what happened to that. Each time there's like more billions of dollars, nobody knows. There's so many homeless there in California. And I don't know, I probably have mentioned this before, or maybe I haven't. Many years ago, in my youth, I did actually live in California for a few years. I really liked the place. And over the years, when I did do different business, different things there, I visited there on several occasions, on many occasions, and sometimes I'd even stay a period of time, not just to come in there for like a day and leave, but I'd be there for a stretch. And I've always really liked the place. It's a if you take away all of his policies that, in my opinion, are I have been ruining the place for years, it's a great place. There's a lot of great memories and a lot of great things that I have to say about California, but I think he's not running it well. And when it comes to these fires, the writing has been on the wall. I mean, there have already been a lot of issues, and Trump, he's a very blunt guy, Trump, and sometimes maybe the way he talks is too blunt, and maybe some people don't always take him seriously. But in this case, I don't care if you love him or you don't love him, or you're just kind of a middle of the road, which I consider myself. You can't say that the things that he said weren't true.
no,
He
that's
he's he foresaw this whole situation. He all the stuff that people were, like, complaining that, "How dare he speak that way? How dare he say that about Governor Newsom?" Everything was right, in my opinion.
yeah. And you also have yeah, Trump's been kind of hitting on this whole thing with the Delta smelts. You caught all of that, Bryce? The
Is that the small fish?
that's the tiny fish that's endangered that they want to try and protect, which has thoroughly crippled their ability to properly manage the water supply in California. And there's been a number of people who've been talking about this for some time, saying that this is a major problem. One, keeping the reservoirs full, being able to properly, get water where it needs to go, so that they can take care of issues like, say, keeping the fire hydrants full. That's one thing. But then other things too, like being able to take care of farmland. Farmers have been starved for having enough water to actually manage and take care of their crops properly. And all of it is over trying to protect this little fish. So instead of properly managing their water, and using the pumps and things to shift the water where it's most needed, where there's a population, instead they end up dumping a whole bunch of water just out into the ocean. It's wild. Just
Yeah, I
wild.
just I was gonna find this. Give me 1 second. There's something that I wanted to find. Hold on. Let's see if I can share this. So this is from Joe Rogan, and I
Oh,
remember this.
yes.
I
Yeah.
remember actually watching this, and when I was watching it, I said to myself, even I, when I was watching this, saying, "Wow, he really spent a lot of time talking about this wildfire thing." Like he was on and on talking about this very, very thing. And as much as at that moment I thought, just because it was before an election, it surprised me how much time he dedicated to speaking on this matter. But I think
Eh,
it'd be interesting to kind of revisit it.
yeah, you're not, presenting. I can't see the video.
Oh,
Yeah, switch
that's
to
not good.
presentation, I think. There we go.
Now let's see if it works. Can you hear it?
Asking people to not charge their Teslas because
Yeah.
the grid couldn't handle it. Well, how are you
I
going
will,
to
I will
handle?
terminate the mandate immediately. This
Good, thank
mandate
you.
that will be done, I would say, in my first day, maybe 2 days, because it's
Let me
a
ask you
little
about
bit busy.
nuclear.
So, yeah,
So
that's, yeah, I remember that from that particular interview. Actually, there's another one. I thought this was actually what you were gonna play. Here, I'll share it.
you share it.
Um,
But what I'm saying is that at the time, everybody is their eyes are on this podcast. He goes to Joe Rogan. This is one of the things that people felt were really important for him sealing the victory. Because it really, if there were people kind of independent or middle of the road, I think that this interview on Joe Rogan really gave them the confidence. Because until then, he didn't have this exact type of sit down interview. The fact that he sat for such a long time and had this conversation with Joe Rogan,
yeah,
I thought that this was one of his finer moments in the campaign. When I saw it, I thought that it was a real course correction after that debate with Kamala that I didn't think he did so well when he sat here and she didn't arrive to Joe Rogan, she didn't want to do the interview, and he's sitting there for hours talking with him. I thought that was a key moment for his campaign. But more than that, I remember specifically him talking about this, and I remember listening to it, and I said to myself, I don't know if your average person listening to this really cares about the wildfires in
yeah.
California. And he went on and on, like detailing exactly what he wants to do. And when you listen to it now, it all really makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, like, as I mentioned before, I did work with the Forest Service for a while. I mean, I was in IT, but I worked with these guys, and so I talked and learned a lot about, you know, the stuff that they do in helping to manage forests and manage wildfires and all sorts of stuff. And it's you know what, Trump is pretty much on the nose here. You have to go through these areas and you have to clear out the deadfall, all the branches and stuff that fall down. The leaves, not so much. The leaves, they get damp and then they rot and then they just turn it, they just turn into the soil, right? That's not something you would really bother with. You're not going to go through and sweep the forest, but you pull out the deadfall before it has a chance to completely dry out and become, just basically matchsticks, laying on the forest floor. And you also have to clear out, there's lots of undergrowth that grows in these little bushes and things like that that come in that are very sappy, and they will they'll just catch fire like crazy and burn really hot. And so that causes all sorts of issues. And so, yeah, you do have to have a forest management plan that you're going through and actually managing those areas. And they've just had a lot of environmentalists who've convinced them that no, you're supposed to leave the forest alone. You're supposed to, allow it to just be natural or whatever. Well, guess what happens when you allow the forest to be natural? You get another natural phenomenon, which is wildfires.
Right.
Right. So if you're not in there managing that, you are inviting this to happen. And so this is a video. Actually mentioned this in the chat a little bit ago. I was already thinking about this because I had seen this earlier today. This is not the person that I saw that posted it originally, but it's the same video. This is from back in July of this past year. Let me know you can
I
hear
talked
it.
to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons that freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind and fire is going to start in the right place and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean. And there's not a fucking thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it. Because these fires are so big, dude. When they're talking about like thousands of acres that are burning simultaneously with like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And the wind's just blowing embers through the air, and those embers are landing on roofs, and those houses are going up, and they're landing on bushes, and those bushes are going up, and everything's dry. And once it happens in a way where it's so spread out that there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do.
You just have to evacuate, right?
Nothing they can do. I talked to a fireman once.
Yeah.
This is one of the.
So, I mean, that is exactly what is happening.
Right.
You have these forests that have not been managed. There are tinderboxes. They're waiting to just burst into flames. And you have these heavy winds that move in. And you also have psychos that are out there setting fires. There's nuts that are out there. It's been documented. There's crazy people just running around just setting fires.
But why are they setting fires? I that's the part that I don't fully understand, I guess.
I mean, it sounds kind of like a trope or a cliche, but I think they just want to watch the world burn.
You know what? I think you're
literally.
right, unfortunately.
It's wild. And so, yeah, I mean, I like I said, I feel terrible for these people. We got a number of people here who are in the chat. Whalem03 was saying he's knows some people there that have lost some homes in this most recent fire. We know there's been a few people in the YouTube community that we know or had connections with that are out there
I see
in
that
California.
Argendum is saying, I'm still a little on edge from the false alarm evacuation notice, friggin' county.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I know people that I have a really, they're I'm very close with them, really good
Yeah.
friends of mine, and they live. I mean, I kept calling them and asking them, and they're like, it's 20 minutes away from us, the fire. 20 minutes away isn't a long time. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't make me feel great. That makes me feel like 20 minutes. I said, what if there's wind? And nobody knew to answer.
Yeah.
But hopefully
when fire starts in the right place, the wind goes in the wrong way. And I mean, right now we're still last time I looked, it's still listed, most of these fires at zero containment, which if you don't know what containment means, again, having worked with the Forest Service, containment means that they have built up some sort of a barrier to sort of stop it from spreading in one particular front of that fire. Zero means that there's nothing stopping any side of that fire from continuing in the direction it's continuing. They haven't built any kind of a fire break. They haven't been able to contain it somewhere. It's just just burning away. And all they can do is hopefully protect structures and get people out of its way. If they can even manage that, clearly they have not been able to do so. I feel for these firefighters. I know that every last one of these firefighters, you can try and politicize things as much as you want. Those men and women are out there risking their lives to do what little they can. And in this case, there's very little that they can do. But they are out there risking their lives to try and protect people. And we know that there's already been at least, I think 5 or 6 people that have died, most because they, did not heed evacuation warnings. I'm guessing there's probably going to be more that we find out later on. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible,
and
and it's sad to hear this being politicized. But at the same time, there are definitely people that are to blame for this tragedy, at least for the lack of the ability of the firefighters in California to fight this fire. And
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's two separate things. On the one hand, obviously, like I said, I don't wish for people to get hurt or be impacted negatively or losing their homes, even if it's people that I consider annoying. I still wouldn't wish that upon them. And there's probably no shortage of of
yeah,
annoying people in California, even though I know some nice people in California. It doesn't mean that
yes,
they're all
true.
annoying. But of course, anybody that's working in whether it's firemen or even women working in the fire department, obviously they're doing whatever they can, like you said. I think that the problem here is, when you were looking at these kind of news reports, that they don't have water inside the fire hydrants. That's an issue. And when it comes to politicizing, if it's a situation that a fire broke out and it's so big and it's just everybody is out there and it's the worst fire ever and they're not able to put it out, I think that that's one conversation. When the fact that there have been other fires in the past and these, Newsom was told again and again to take certain precautions and certain measures, and he didn't do any of it. And now there's a situation that firefighters are saying that they don't have any water to put out fires. That becomes, it's not so much politicizing as much as you look at who who's in charge there. I think that if this was just a company and it doesn't no politics involved, if this is just a company and there was a CEO of, let's say, California, and that's what was happening, the
Mhm.
CEO has to go. Do you get what I'm trying to say? This
Yeah.
is, to me, this is less of a pointing fingers politically situation. This is more of, he was the one in charge. This is what happened, and really, at this point, it's beyond politics. Actually, I think that if I were him, I would say at this point that I need to resign. And the fact that he goes around and did you see that? Well, first of all, I wanted to see this video. I actually hadn't seen. I was just curious about it. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Well, it's very sad because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way, called a smelt. And for the sake of a smelt, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles. It was a terrible thing. And we're going to get that done. It's going to finally be done. I got it done from the federal side, and he didn't want to sign it, but it's not going to happen again like that. There's no reason. Can you imagine? You have farmers that don't have any water in California. They have plenty of water. They don't have a drought. They send it out to the Pacific, and it's crazy. So what's happening in California is a true tragedy. I know those areas very well. I have many friends living in those houses. That is a true tragedy. Nobody ever thought. I mean, virtually Beverly Hills and areas around Beverly Hills are being decimated. The biggest homes, some of the most valuable homes in the world are just destroyed. I don't even know. You talk about a tax base. If those people leave, you're going to lose half your tax base of California. This is a true tragedy, and it's a mistake of the governor, and you could say the administration. They don't have any water. They didn't have water in the fire hydrants. They don't have water, and yet they have. The water comes from, where? Up north, and it comes down at levels. They get millions and millions of barrels of gallons of water that they have, and they send it out into the Pacific. For the Pacific, it's like a drop. It's nothing. But for California, it would take care of the whole state. So what's happened is a tragedy, and the governor has not done a good job. With that being said, I got along well with him. When he was governor, we worked together very well, and we would work together. I guess it looks like we're going to be the one having to rebuild it. But what happened there, I don't think there's anything that I've ever seen quite like it. And the insurance company is going to have a big problem because you're talking about big, big dollars.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that
it's
smelt
wild.
fish, that's what I was kind of focusing on, this stupid. I mean, listen, it's not that there's no value to species and stuff like that, but is it really worth sacrificing your entire state because of the smelt fish?
Yeah, it's wild. That
It's crazy. And then did you see that thing where Newsom, some lady wanted to talk to him? Did you see
I
that?
did. Yes, I saw that video. That was, well, it was heartbreaking, I guess would be the word for it. I mean, you can hear the anger and the frustration and the desperation in her voice. Like, it's It's so sad, and he's just dismissing her. Oh, I'm talking to the president right now. He's going to take care of this. No, you should have taken care of this, Gavin.
R-
You are the governor.
This is the
This
kind of
is
thing.
your sovereign state. You should have taken care of this. You don't just sit back, blow money on all sorts of crazy DEI projects and wild other stuff, and then, oh well, we had a really terrible disaster, and so we need to get taken care of. And by the way, I mean, insanity here. Now you've got Biden who's saying, oh, we're gonna cover for the next 120 days. We're gonna cover all the expenses
Governor, you
of
got
this huge tragedy. And of course, I guess it matters. It matters who you vote for, because Biden, they're going to take care of everything in California. The best anyone in North Carolina could hope for was $750 in a tent. So
Kivo has sent a $5 Rumble rant. Kivo 1961. It's my understanding the smeltfish is not even a native fish in California. I believe it. I really don't think it's worth flushing your whole state down the toilet over the smeltfish. It's not that you want to try to be mindful of your environment and animals and species and things like that, but it also has to come within reason. You know what I mean? There has to be. This just is insanity, in my opinion. This is this video with Newsom and this lady.
yeah,
Governor, you got a second? Governor,
Can you hear
Governor,
it?
I live here,
Yes.
Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call?
I
Because I
can't.
don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the
Why
call.
is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's
There's
get
no
it.
cell service.
Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And
It's not
you
funny,
get
but
reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids. Losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their home. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild. We're getting
Why
the
was there no
resources to do
water
it.
in the hydrants,
That's all
Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has
Right.
to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To fill
everything
the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally. You know that.
I literally.
I would fill up the hydrants myself. But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not. I see do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including making sure people
I'd
are
like
safe.
to make sure you do. Can I have an opportunity to at least tell people you're doing what you're saying you're doing? Could somebody have a contact? Can I have your contact
Yes,
information?
right there.
I mean, the reason I was chuckling is he's such a kind of bullshit artist. He's
yes,
like talking
massively.
I mean, not that I know what I would say if I were him, but that's exactly why I was telling you that in some cases you just have to say I failed and I need to go. This is one of those cases. I feel like this video is the very example or the very highlight of why I don't know that this guy can continue to be the governor. This lady also, I don't necessarily think that she was you know, a right-winged lady or a Trump supporter or anything. She just
No.
looks like an annoyed
No.
California citizen. And that's why you were saying politicized. I think we're beyond politics here. I think that people are probably really, really upset. And there was this thing that Adam Carolla was talking, and he was saying that he thinks that some of these even snooty celebs or more ultra left people that live there, once they figure out what's happened to their homes and the problems they're having with insurance and with permits and rebuilding, and they run into all of this stuff, they may suddenly you may suddenly see a shift here. It's possible. I don't really know, but it's possible that some people may not be as enthusiastic about Newsom and his like-minded politicians after
Yeah.
this whole incident.
It's well, we do have a super chat over on YouTube, so let's go ahead and
Oh,
get to
okay.
that. The Dead Man for $5 says these fires have been around forever, pre-Columbian contact, not climate change. Government effed up. Same with Maui. Well, that's one way to look at it. Yeah. Forest fires have been around for a very long time. And as I said, that's the natural state. There's a lot of research that's gone into, various different life cycles for different plants, and it's been found both in the forests and in the plains that there are actually, there are plants that don't survive. They don't complete their life cycle
The guy.
without fire, right? So I mean, fire has been part of these ecosystems for a very long time. That's not to say that we should just let them burn. We can do things to manage those forests, especially those that are very close to populated areas, right? So it's
I wanted to see. I saw a bit of this. I was wondering what he says here. I did it at higher speed, so maybe let's just check this
yeah,
out.
go ahead.
Guys who lost their $20 million homes on the ocean side of PCH will be knee deep in the permit process. They will be trying to pull permits when the guys in the Winnebagos will have been back for months before those guys ever get a permit. As a matter of fact, good fucking luck, because here's the deal. Alan Hamill and Suzanne Summers moved because they could not get a permit to rebuild their home of 40 years on the ocean on PCH, right? So here's what's going to happen. Let me just give you guys a little primer of what's going to happen. You know how Bill Maher seems real conservative now when he's like arguing with Jane Fonda about regulations, too many regulations, like strangling everything? Because remember, when Bill Maher tried to put solar in his house in Beverly Hills, that's when he turned against the government, because he saw what the government and the overreach of government and overregulation does. He got strangled. It took him 3 years to build a solar shack. He had a whole countdown on his show, day 1000 since I've got my permit for my solar. He turned. Okay. The people who live in Malibu, who live in Santa Monica, who live in the Palisades, those are some of the most progressive blue voters in the world, or in the United States. They are a bastion of blue. So what those guys did is, all the people in the Palisades, I checked it out. It's about 80% blue, 80% progressive, 80% Democrat. Now, these pussies are all sitting around crying about Karen Bass, water pressure. How come the forest wasn't cleared of all the brush? What's happening with the infrastructure? You guys all voted for Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. You all voted for Gavin Newsom. And now you fucking get what you get. Oh, now that your house is on fire, well, now you're thinking about something else. Now you want to know what's going on. What's going on around here? You didn't give a shit about what was going on when other people's houses were on fire, but now you care. So here's what's going to happen. All these people who are deep blue Democrats are now going to have to pull a permit to rebuild. And they're going to get the 28-year-old bitch from the Coastal Commission telling them to go fuck off. And then they're going to vote for Trump or whoever's Trumpian next. You see, they're going to get turned. They're going to get turned hard because, as I've always said, live in the rent control apartment in Santa Monica. Fine. Good. We know how you vote. Go deal with the city. Try to pull a permit. These are going to be thousands of homes, super wealthy people, and these people don't want to live in Van Nuys. They like it where they are. They love Malibu. They love the Palisades. They love Santa Monica. There's going to be a whole bunch of rich people, and they're going to go, I'm rebuilding, and I want to rebuild as fast as I can. And between the part where they go in to planning commission and plan check and initially and try to pull a permit to the time the first load of lumber, the first load of 2x4s is dropped off on their lot where their house formerly stood, it's going to be 3 years. And 1,000 permits and 1,000 arguments and 1,000 discussions with the Coastal Commission, not to mention little tidbits that they didn't think about, like Carson Daly. You want a swimming pool? Yep. Got to be double hulled. Really? Yeah. Well, why? Well, what if water leaches out and gets into the groundwater table? Carson Daly had to build a swimming pool like a modern day oil tanker. Had to be like a double hulled. That's all right. It'll just cost $500,000 for a swimming pool. Like that, they're going to be, when they start getting the regulation, they're going to go nuts. And when they start running into the bureaucracy and the red tape, they're going to start going nuts, and they're going to vote for Rick Caruso next time because they want to get, that's all Trump says. Is we're going to pull back the regulations. We're going to free people up. They're going to find out. They're going to get bit by their own snake. They're going to convert. I am telling you, these are the bluest people on the planet, and they're going to be fucking ripshit pissed when the city and the Coastal Commission tell them to fuck off. And by the way, I don't think the Coastal Commission is going to okay anyone rebuilding any of their houses on the coast, because they say they're in the business of protecting the coast. They're in the business of getting you to leave. They will get their wish, which is no buildings. And they're going to make it hard for everyone. And then we're going to have to restructure the whole thing, because we can't have 9 angry lesbians controlling everything that goes on in Malibu, the Palisades, and Santa Monica.
It's actually really funny, Bryce, because I was actually saying the very same thing, at least part of this, to somebody earlier today, because we were talking about this and talking about all these people who've lost their homes. And again, this is terrible. Even those people who, they're the wildly wealthy people who live in Palisades and, on the Pacific coast and everything, they have, it's their third, fourth home, whatever. And they were actually they're like, well, maybe this is going to change people's minds. This is going to wake people up, right? And I actually said, No, what's going to wake them up is when they try to rebuild, because they are going to have to go through a literal hell paved with permits and regulation and all sorts of stuff that is going to make them trying to rebuild their lives next to impossible. And that's not just going to be a person here and a person there. There's going to be thousands of them. And they're all going to be up in arms, furious about the insanity that they are going to be put through to try and rebuild their homes. Some of them are just going to leave the state for good. They're never coming back. And then some of them are going to be changed forever about how they view everything politically that's happening in their state. It's not going to be the houses burning. It's going to be them trying to rebuild.
Well, this is something that hopefully you can hear it. This was something that I think he was sort of. What was he saying about Trump here? He was like blaming Trump or something. I know. I want to look at this video. I looked at this quickly.
Phase. We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us. Phase. We're in the public safety phase.
Yeah, he just gave you money. He just gave you billions of dollars. Oh, by the way, he still gave more to Ukraine than he gave to you, pal.
Right. He's still giving a lot there. And the thing is that, again, because there were already multiple incidents like this, and this is an ongoing thing that Trump kept saying, that after every fire, Trump was saying, this guy isn't doing his job. And now that it's a situation that's even worse, exactly the situation that he was talking about, and he kept talking about over and over again, at this point, I mean, it's like what you were saying before. There's politicizing and there's whatever's happening here. And this is, I'm trying to find the thing with no water, because that was, did you see that thing where they were trying to spin it, that there is water, and then they're like, there's no water?
Oh, but yeah, the news report where they've got like the national people, and then they talk to someone local right after that. Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
This is it. This is it.
Is that it? Okay, yeah, go ahead and play it.
Okay.
Former LA mayoral candidate and real estate developer Rick Caruso criticizing the city's response to the windstorm and fires. He says officials should have been more prepared.
The real issue to me is twofold. We've had decades to go remove the brush in these hills that spreads so quickly. And the second is you got to have water. And my understanding is the reservoir was not refilled in time and in a timely manner to keep the hydrants going. So that's a failure, whether on DWP's part or another city agency. But this is basic stuff. This isn't high science here. And it's all about leadership and management that we're seeing a failure of. And all of these residents are paying the ultimate price for that.
Despite what you have heard from Caruso, no firefighters have told us that they are running out of water.
And let's go out to Gigi Graciette. She is live in Pacific Palisades. I know your signal's not the best, but Gigi, what can you tell us?
Well, firefighters have told me they have no water on this block, and you may be able to make out the ember storm that we're in the middle of right now. This house going to be a total loss. They have no water to put on this fire. They are standing by because they're trying to save the home that is next to it.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't sad, it would be funny. This is almost like a South Park. You know what I mean? There's just, insanity.
You
And
can't write it that well, right? Oh, we know
right,
your connection's not that great, but
Former
we just
Eller
told everybody that we don't have water is plentiful and everyone has water, and then they go straight to her. It's like the firefighters here are telling me they have no water.
it's ridiculous. This I haven't seen. This Anderson Cooper. Did you see this thing?
I don't think I saw Anderson Cooper. No.
But there's just the lack of water is a problem. In the Palisades, the water issue is according to authorities is a gravity issue. In order to get the water through the hydrants up in the hills and the mountains, they have these giant water tanks that use gravity, and those water tanks ran dry. Part of the problem is a lot of people are using hoses, trying to understandably hose down their lawns, hoping that will stop the fire. A lot of firefighters will say that's not going to stop a fire like this from burning down your house. You may keep your lawn, but it's not going to keep your house. But there's this huge water usage all of a sudden, and those tanks on the top, there may be water in the system down below, but if the tanks on the top run dry, there's not enough pressure for gravity to bring the water up into the hydrants. That's in the Palisades. I don't know the water system here in Altadena.
People, I guess, were saying that he's sort of blaming the citizens that they were trying to, that they're wasting the water or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to use a guy with a hose trying to spray down his house is going to use 1/1000th of the water that a fire hose is going to be spraying onto a fire within a few minutes. So that's rather silly. But the truth is, they've been having water problems in California for quite some time. It's nothing new. They've been having a lot of water problems, and a lot of it is just poor management. It is putting wild environmental stuff first instead of actually like trying to manage this in a way that's going to be both sustainable but also healthy for the people living there. And so it's such a tragedy. It's so frustrating to see all this from a distance. Obviously, I don't live in California. I do have family in California. They're far out of the area here. I'm not sure they've got enough greenery around them to catch fire if it wanted to, because they're in the desert. So no issues for them. But like I said, we know people. We know people on YouTube that are out in that area. I know several people that have gotten warnings about potential evacuations, having to pack up their things and start thinking about, my God, like what would it be like to, what can I, in a moment's notice, pack up and leave, everything else behind. It's wild, and it's terrible to have to think about that kind of thing. But yeah, it's like you said, some of this would just be funny if it weren't so incredibly tragic. So
yeah. I mean, I really don't know what they're going to do. I mean, if there's like 0% containment, this is just. I don't remember that there's ever been something like this exactly. There have been fires, there have been disaster fires, there have been fires that were hard to put out. But whatever we're seeing now is something that I can't remember seeing exactly like this.
oh no, nothing that's happened quite like this. Obviously, there have been plenty of fires in recent years. So serious have they been, and so frequent have the fires been, rolling through California in the last decade. That a lot. The scariest thing is there's a lot of the insurance agencies that have now pulled out of California. They will not insure homes. They won't write fire policies for homes anymore. With one of the interviews that I saw earlier today was, who was that? I was seeing an interview with, dadgummit, James Woods. That's who it was. James Woods on CNN. Did you see any of that interview?
Oh, I wanted to see that. I actually saw something. I think he was like, heartbroken over his
Yes.
house
So
being.
yeah, so he lost a home. I think just one of his homes, but he lost a home in the fires, and he was talking to CNN about what had happened, and basically he started breaking down on the air, and he said, I apologize, I thought I was stronger than this, but he was basically saying, his I believe he said his granddaughter had come to him and had her piggy bank and said that she would give him the money in her piggy bank to help rebuild his house, and that's sad. That's terrible. And it's very emotional. But he was also very critical of everything that was happening in California, and everything that had led up
Well,
to this.
there's
Yeah.
also this thing now. I'm going to try to find that James Wood, but there's just developments all the time.
But
Let me see this thing. This is
yeah.
interesting. Apparently, they have, I guess, a suspect for arson. I mean, you think that is it possible that there's one person that started this fire? That would
Well,
be
this would be,
insane.
I think that's listing the Kenneth fire, which is just one of many fires that are burning out there right now.
Well, apparently, this is the suspect. It's not a
Yeah.
very good image, but
No.
people are like, oh, aren't they saying his name? And oh, I guess it's this guy. Maybe I don't know who this guy is, but I understand where where this conversation. James Wood says, "Oh, look, climate change has a face."
Uh-huh.
I'm going to try to find James Wood's the interview.
There's a couple versions of it. I think the longer one is about it's 12 or 13 minutes, I think. Um, I was trying to get
There's one here. This is a Fox News. Wait. This is no, but this was an older one. There's James Woods.
it was with CNN.
Was it CNN?
Mhm.
Surprised they even talked to him. This one here is 26 seconds. Where did you see the longer one?
Let me see.
There's one here. If you have a better one, you can share it. I'm just trying to find something.
Oh, there's a shorter one, about a 2-minute. I thought I had seen slightly
I'll
longer
take
one.
whatever you can give. 2-minute one is better than no minute, I suppose. Did you find? I can only find the two.
I found one, but it's like it's only his side of the interview.
It's just you.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm 77 years old, man. I can't walk up these hills. It's like Mount Everest there. It's like, pretty steep. So, it's just you. I posted this on X, but Sarah was on with her 8-year-old niece last night. And she came out. I'm sorry. Just, one day you're swimming in the pool and the next day it's all gone. But she came out with her little Yeti piggy bank for us to rebuild our house.
Oh my gosh. James Woods, we all hope that you will be able to rebuild your house, maybe starting with that little Yeti piggy bank. And we're just glad that you're okay and your wife is okay.
I'm sorry,
you have your
I'm
lives.
usually-
Yeah, no, I mean, this is real and it's raw. And you don't need, you are, you know what? Strength is not measured by whether, you hold in crying or not. strength is what you are doing now and helping your neighbors and shining a light on the great, amazing work of all those firefighters and emergency crews out there. You have
they're
so much
great.
strength, and
They're
we
great.
appreciate you coming on to reflect what so many others just like you are experiencing in that raw emotion right now. We wish you the best, you and your wife, as you rebuild your lives. So many people are doing that right now and trying to process what's going on. So, James, and also keep us posted on your 94-year-old neighbor and everything going there. We're going to continue to talk, and we wish you the very
He's
best.
okay. He's okay.
Yeah.
They found him. He's in the hospital.
He's okay. Yeah.
I just worry. If anybody knows where Robert Trinkteller is, call me.
Yeah.
Let me know. All right.
That's
Thank
an
you so
important
much.
message. And also there's this app that's really important.
What I mean, the thing is, the one thing I'll say, and I'm not discounting the fact that he's feels this way. Anybody, it doesn't matter who you are, that loses a home like that. I can understand why this would be heartbreaking, and it doesn't matter if you're a rich person or a poor person. But I will say that a lot of people like James Woods and other kind of celebrities or people that were mentioned, at least I have a feeling that a lot of them can land on their own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Some people that may not be as wealthy or have as much money like that on reserve, I don't know what happens to them.
Yeah, yeah. The more wealthy stars, people that are living in Palisades for the most part, the people who are living along the Pacific coast, for most of them, that's not their only home. They've got lots of different places, and they've got lots of money to help put things back together after a tragedy like this. But yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of people who are not those wildly wealthy people who can just pick up and move wherever they want. They can rebuild whatever they want. There's going to be a lot of people, the people who are people would call them the small people, whatever. That's extremely rude. The service workers, the people who make modest livings doing all sorts of different things in their area. And it's kind of sad that it feels like they're getting overlooked a little bit, right? There's a lot of these people just trying to live their lives. They're living paycheck to paycheck. That home is the biggest investment they ever had, and they probably lost a lot more than just their home. They lost memories. They lost other things that were in their homes, and a lot of them may or may not have insurance. That was one of the things that kind of brought me to James Woods initially. In the interview, he talks about how he had his fire policy on his home canceled 4 months ago. Thankfully, it was actually still active because there's you have like a certain amount of time you've paid for it, and so you get to keep it through that contract or whatever. But basically, like, he was not going to be able to renew that contract and keep the fire insurance. So there's probably a lot of people who were not covered. They don't have a fire policy covering their homes, and so yeah, insurance may not be able to get it back for them. And so the best they can hope for is a government bailout. And
This is a hefty bailout. This is a ton of money.
Wildly. I mean, it's already been said that this is probably, and in fact, it's almost 100% chance this is going to be the most expensive natural disaster that we have seen in a very long time. Most certainly the most expensive natural disaster, most expensive fire that we've seen in California. I think some of the estimates the other day were upwards of $50 billion just in property damage alone. That's not all of the other stuff that would be there. There's some people in chat, someone, Scott Hodvit, saying, less than 64% of Americans have $1,000 in reserve. That's true. That's absolutely true. That very many large percentage of people are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a lot held back. If there's a tragedy like this, the only hope they have is for insurance, and to help them get back on their feet, some government assistance to help them get back on their feet. And it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, and I guess I was just highlighting this. Marla Sharondoff says, I like James Woods. Marla, have you met him? Because Marla, a lot of times she's met these people. She is the sister of Tara Strong. So a lot of times she brings us a
Yeah.
little bit of insider information. And Backyard TARDIS, he's my friend. He is a minister. He lives more near the Sacramento area, but he's had in his area a lot of trouble with fires in California. And I've had a lot of conversations with him that basically his insurance skyrocketed, the insurance rates. And it's a real problem. It's a real problem when you used to have to pay a few $100s insurance, and now sometimes they want thousands of dollars if you want insurance. And first of all, not everybody can pay it. It really it is also kind of from moment to moment you get an announcement, we're not going to insure you anymore. So I remember him telling me a lot of this stuff. He said these fire departments wait for state funding to kick in. By that point, it's too big, and then we need federal funding, and that takes longer. Yeah, he also explained this to me, that in his area, sometimes there's a fire that starts and nobody does anything because they want it to become so bad that it'll become a federal matter. And then there will be federal funding. So it's almost like it's in their best interest to do nothing, let the fire grow, and somebody else will pay
Yeah.
for it. I'm
Yeah.
not suggesting that that's what happened exactly in
Yeah.
Los Angeles. I can't imagine that anybody wanted that thing to grow the way it did.
Yeah.
But I understand what Nick, my friend, is telling me that happens in his area. That with all of this bureaucracy, sometimes even the authorities don't do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, and I would say that this kind of thing absolutely does happen. They are, however, they're not just going to allow something to go completely out of control immediately. The firemen would, the fire departments would be, protecting lives, protecting, homes and stuff like that. But if they can let it burn a little, oh, we're just going to let it go a little bit more over here in this area, until it's big enough that it's not something that the local municipality, local city or whatever has to pay for. It gets, grows a little bit over there, away from the town, where now it's going to be more of a state problem. uh, yeah, that kind of thing does happen. It's just part of the calculus of how these departments are able to manage, their budgets, and it's sad. It's frustrating, but it's just how it is. And yeah, that kind of calculus does, I believe that does happen. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Oh, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to really focus. So, we often talk about all this kind of pop culture stuff and even politics, but I think that this is just a disaster that we're looking at unfolding in front of our eyes. And
It really is, and it's incredibly sad. And again, anyone out there, Adam, Barbara, Argentum, I know all out in California, that all of them more or less out of the way. But Whalem03 was saying he was in California. Anybody who's out there, I know that not everybody is immediately in the path of this kind of stuff, but just stay safe. And anybody who might just be listening in, not in the chat or whatever, just know that our thoughts are with you, our prayers are with you, and that this is a terrible tragedy, and we just wish that everyone will stay safe.
I saw that there's a message from Backyard TARDIS. That's my friend Nick, who I told you lives in California.
Yeah.
Has a lot of fires in Sacramento. He's a minister and a really great guy, also an expert in science fiction. You probably know him from my Quantum Leap streams. So I'm going to send him an invite, so maybe he can chat with us and tell us about some of the problems, because he's been through it. I know
Yeah.
that now it's Los Angeles and it's not in the Sacramento area, but he's been put through the ringer a number of times, also with all these evacuations and these fires in his area. So I'm going to send him a link now. I'd love it if you want to come on and sort of
Oh, stop sharing your screen first.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Oh, there was nothing interesting in it.
No, you're fine.
Okay, but good. It's a good catch in any case.
Don't want any messages about boob ladies or anything like that popping up on the screen.
That was that one
We don't
time.
need that. Don't need that. Yeah, while you're doing that, let's see. What else did we have to talk about today? Um, I suppose later on we're definitely going to get to talk about the everything that's happened with Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's going to be interesting. We'll definitely get to talk about that some more later. There's been some really interesting stuff. I don't know about you. One of my favorite video game consoles of all time has been the Nintendo Switch. It's an absolutely incredible console. What Nintendo has been able to do with that has been fascinating. And there's been a whole bunch of leaks over the last couple days about the Nintendo Switch, mostly coming from an accessory maker, somebody who makes cases and little add-ons and stuff for the Nintendo Switch, and they have been basically leaking the designs of the new Nintendo Switch uh, because they've been showing they want to show off their cases. And so at CES this week, they had a whole bunch of videos showing mock-ups of the new Switch along with cases on it. So that's been kind of embarrassing since Nintendo hasn't actually announced the Switch 2 yet. So
By the way, I just want to say that people were asking Marla Sharondoff if everything is okay with Tara.
Yeah.
And she said that she's safe and she's
Everyone's
not next to the
safe.
fire.
Yeah.
For some reason, it doesn't appear in a way that I can highlight it. I just I got this other message here that says, "I'm in Toronto, Canada. We had to deal with the fires in Vancouver, so the air quality around here stank."
Yeah.
But she was also talking about Tara and that she's safe, and that's what people wanted to know.
Yeah.
So thank you for updating us on that.
Yeah.
I did ask her if she met James Woods, but I don't know if she answered that.
Oh, I didn't see. You can look there. We would also just want to mention thank you all for being here today. We appreciate everyone, and not just your support, but you're just being here in the chat. We appreciate that. If you don't yet follow or subscribe to Price's channel here, whether you're on Rumble or on YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe, leave a comment after the stream. We'd love to hear from you. And if you are on Rumble and you're just kind of watching through the app and you don't have an account, it's really easy to sign up for an account, and then you'll be able to subscribe to the channel here, and then you'll get updates whenever we go live every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we appreciate everybody being here, and if you'll just take a moment to give us a like and subscribe to the channel, we'd appreciate it.
I agree with everything you said, Professor. And I'm told that Nick, who's in California, he's setting up a camera. He's
Great.
gonna join us and talk to us. So
Awesome.
that's cool. And what was I gonna? There was something I wanted to say. I was trying to look to see if she ever answered, but there's so much going on in our chat, and that's cool. What a friend of mine, Erwin from Nerd Wars, told me today is that he was reading even in the Hollywood Reporter articles that they're sort of bashing Gavin Newsom. You'd think they're basically like quoting Trump and Elon Musk, but not in a way like that, the usual way that they're saying how much they hate Elon Musk and Trump, but actually just quoting them because they themselves are annoyed at Newsom. That's what I'm saying, that I think that he's saying, oh, we want to politicize it and things, people are trying to politicize it. I think that this is, I think that everybody has the same opinion. This is a big, big mess up. I think that he is the person in charge. And I feel like this is a bipartisan sentiment at this point that I can't imagine he has a lot of friends in California now.
You never know. The politics makes strange bedfellows, and some of these people, they will be diehard believers in whoever's in charge there for life. It's kind of weird. Actually, bumped into somebody over the holidays who works in Newsom's office.
Wow.
who was here in Kansas. It was kind of funny. So it's so weird. Him being pushed back into the limelight here. Definitely not for a good reason, that's for sure. But yeah, I know a lot of people think he was going to be the next challenger to step forward as the Democratic National Committee's candidate for the presidency. I'm not sure that's going to happen anymore.
I think that this, if there was ever an idea to make him the president, I think that this is going to change something. Hey Nick, how's it going? So first of all,
Going
Marla
okay.
Shandoff says she didn't meet James Woods. I understand. Thank you.
Hey there, Nick.
Nick. So
Hey, how's it going, Professor R2?
you're not. I think this is the first time we're all on the same stream. I do a lot of streaming with Nick and a lot of streaming with Professor R2. This is the first time that all three of us are on a stream together. So
Yeah, I haven't been on the Night Owl in forever.
That's true. So, like I said, Nick, for those of you who are not aware, also known as the Backyard TARDIS, he is a minister at his local church in his town. He's also the local locksmith, and he's also a consultant to the sheriff and the fire department. So that's interesting. And so he actually knows some stuff. In addition, he also has his own ranch where he raises goats, and he's also an expert in science fiction.
Yeah. So, and you were describing my area of Sacramento, which is, if you're outside of California, that's what people would kind of know it. But I'm about hour north and then another 45 minutes east. So I'm probably halfway between Sacramento and Reno, but I'm not that far from where the Paradise Fire happened in 2019. And so those who don't know, the Paradise Fire, when it happened, was the most expensive natural disaster to happen in the United States, beating out Katrina. In that fire, 10,000 homes burned. That was a third of the town, plus the local hospital and many of the local businesses burned to the ground. It was a very tragic situation, as there was only a 2-lane highway led out of the town, the only way to get out of that town of roughly 28,000 people. And it got to the point where the tires were melting off people's cars and people just started getting out of their cars and running. That was a true disaster. Now, when you think of when that happened, for ones that live in the foothill areas, because this was a foothill city, we suddenly started getting dropped on our fire insurance. State Farm almost went under because of that fire, because they were so heavily covering that area. When we look at what's happening here, if they don't have a bailout, like, these insurance companies are going to go under, because those were $300,000 to $500,000 houses. These are, multi-million-dollar houses in some instances. When this goes through, they're not going to be able to cover it. And there are still people from that 2019 fire who are still waiting in lawsuits to get their insurance money, because the insurance companies ran out of money.
Wow.
So, putting things in perspective, even if you have insurance, that doesn't guarantee you that you get that money.
Wow. So, so what do you think is going to happen in LA now? What you've discovered, what you've described is an area, like you said, houses that are still cost money, but some of those other houses there's probably houses there in the tens of millions of dollars in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, obviously, they probably pay a lot higher premium for those that are of the rich and famous that pay for that. They're probably having to pay more to insure such a house. But still, these insurance companies, they provide this fire insurance with the idea that randomly a person or two will have a house fire and it'll burn to the ground and they replace it. They're not prepared for whole communities to burn to the ground.
Yeah, tens of thousands
they're
homes.
They're not putting that kind of money away, as part of their operation. They collect from everybody monthly, and so they're prepared. When you have a house fire and the house gets burnt down, maybe it affects one of their neighbors, and then it gets put out. But what happens, and this happened with the Paradise Fire, this happened with the fire that I had the year before in 2018, where I got evacuated, and a good portion of my community was burnt out. I live in a much smaller populated area. And so it wasn't that big of a price tag, but it did cover a lot of acreage. And in all of these, it's high winds. And when that wind gets going, if they don't put that fire out right away, when you've got 80-mile-an-hour winds, it can go through a whole, because on a normal day, you can have one of those houses catch on fire, the fire department comes out, puts it out, no other house is damaged. But when you got winds like that, and it's just spreading throughout the subdivision, and what happens, because I work with the fire department, like you said, enforcing fire codes on locks and different things. I work with a lot of firemen in my area, and talking to them, a big problem that they have is they continue, and even after these fires have been a thing, are continuing to get their annual budget reduced. So they don't have funding. One of the biggest things they can do when it's a wildfire is not just the trucks like you think and hooking up, but it's dropping the fire retardant from the planes onto this fire.
Now,
that itself costs tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I remember that you told me that, what was it that you were telling me? That they just one day called you and said either they're canceling your policy or they want more money or both. But there was some saga with you had insurance.
So last year has been a struggle from me. I kind of thought I survived it because it's been kind of in my area the last couple of years. We've seen person after person like getting their policy canceled, getting it hiked up. Some people selling their homes just because they cannot get fire insurance, and then having a hard time selling their home, even though it appraises for a high value. And with my situation, I think it was around February of last year, so almost about a year ago, suddenly they just said, "Oh, we're upping your rate by $200 a month." I'm like, I thought it was fixed into my mortgage. I had it all rolled in. I've never had a price increase. And then another around June, July, they upped it another $300 without notice. Like, it just like, hey, this month it's this much more. And then within 15 days of them upping that, they asked for some pictures. So I spent a good amount of time making sure all my trees were trimmed. There was nothing that they could see in the pictures that would make them think that my house was a threat. Now, like I said, I live in a small community. It doesn't have its own zip code. So my zip code is the same zip code to a town that's 45 minutes from me. Even though I'm in a different town, it's that small, it doesn't have its own zip. So when they realized that I wasn't in that town, but was actually in the foothills, they said, "Oh, we're sorry, you don't have to give us the pictures, your policy's canceled." That was Farmers.
Wow.
And so they said, "Well, don't worry, we have to keep you on for 3 months." This is like in August. And we'll work with you to find another one. Now they've come out with a program that it's like a covered Cal Fire or something like that, kind of like a covered California health insurance. It's a thing where the state's like, okay, we know it's not feasible to pay these things, so the state's going to pay it, but that is still very expensive. But it's kind of a state-run insurance where you can actually run into a situation where no insurance company is willing to cover you. And so then if that's the case, then you can get this really expensive state insurance.
I mean, I can tell you something about insurance, and I don't live in California. I'm on the East Coast. And this just, the reason why I'm telling you this story is, imagine how kind of minor my story is going to be compared to yours. And I had trouble with insurance. So I lived in a building that there were problems with water. I don't live there anymore, but the problem was each time there was some kind of leak, and after maybe twice or three times that I had issues, I was trying to renew my insurance, and I suddenly got a notice: "We're not insuring you anymore." We don't want you're out. And this was, I think it was, it's now Farmers. It was MetLife. MetLife were purchased by Farmers. So Farmers basically told me you're no longer a customer of ours. And I was just shocked. I was so kind of innocent, not even knowing how these things work. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm here. I have the money. I'll pay you for the policy. They're like, no, you won't. And I was like getting pissed. I'm like yelling at them. And they're like, no, like we won't insure you. And this was over some water leaks in a building. Imagine with these fires. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that mine was like small potatoes compared to all of this, and they didn't want to insure me. I'm surprised that you even had insurance with them for that as long as you did, really.
Well, yeah, and I think the only reason why mine lasted as long as I did is because it was part of a program where I had it roped into my mortgage. And so it was just the fire payment was coming out of my mortgage, and the bank had the fire insurance. They set it up, not me personally. And so, but then when all this happened and they finally, like, it caught up, they told the bank no. And the problem is that and people are cutting some corners. What I see some of my neighbors doing is they're finding small insurance companies that are like some little teeny tiny insurance company out of Montana or Idaho or somewhere that doesn't have a lot of room to grow, and they're willing to take the policy and for maybe a not so bad rate. However, they're such a small company that if a disaster did happen, you wonder, could they even cover it? But people are taking it because your mortgage won't let you continue without having fire insurance. And if you can't provide fire insurance, your mortgage company will suddenly tack on something that is ludicrous to the point where you can't afford it. And, to put things in perspective,
Were you able to find an insurance company at the end?
I have one, but they also just yesterday came out to do another inspection. And I asked my wife, I'm like, how did it go? Because I was at work. And she says, well, I came, I said hi to him, and he was here for like 30 minutes and then left without even letting me know.
Did you ever think of leaving California? Has this become an issue that you're actually at any point contemplating maybe you should leave?
That is something that I thought. I mean, you look at my mortgage. I bought in 2012 when the housing crisis, was at just starting to go back up, but it's still great deals to have. I bought a nice house, all that. My payment is $650 a month. My fire insurance right now is $900, and they're not sure if they're going to keep me. So, it's ballooning to a point where it is becoming unreasonable. I've had one of my neighbors, they're all moving out, and the people who are buying these houses are people that live in, like you said, Sacramento, where the cost of living is so high there that moving out to the country and commuting, even with this high insurance rate, it's so much cheaper than what it is there. And everything is going up because of this. You rent right now a 1-bedroom apartment, no washer, dryer, no nothing, starting at about $1,500 in my area a month.
I see.
And that is because the cost of utilities, the cost of property tax, the cost of fire insurance, flood insurance, all those things have gone up so much that landlords have to raise it to match. And what I've noticed in my area is we're getting so many, just this last year, we had 6 or 8 Section 8 apartments centers built into my area just to cover all the people who can't afford to live here that live here.
Yeah.
I have a question because you're also a minister in your community. When you go to church, has all of these fires, has that affected also? Do people come to you and talk to you about these things, or are these things being discussed in your community? Are they like a pressing matter?
Yes, and one of the things, I know in my congregation, we do a lot of outreach, a lot of, helping ones And it's kind of been an interesting thing of just, how much there is, bringing and trying to settle up that devastation. And one of the things that we had some specialists that deal with this kind of thing when we had the Paradise Fire come out and really speak to ones that we had that were coming to us and stuff. And they mentioned one of the other things is people trying to go back. And they said, don't try to be close to where your house was. Move further out, because the entire area was just inundated with, it's basically like refugees. They're all these people without homes now moving into the surrounding communities, trying to look for work because their work burnt down. They're looking for, places to live. And then, the mental health and the homelessness goes up because there's severe PTSD, and trying to help ones and outreach to ones when, and I've been, so when I evacuated in 2018, that was the most serious one. I was in the most danger. The fire got to the other end of my street. So when I left, I looked at the end of the street and there was a wall of flame as an olive orchard was on fire. And I thought I was never coming back to my home. And when you're driving out of that and you're having to drive down a road with a wall of fire on either side through the escape route, and there's heavy smoke and you're doing all that, there is an intense loss of security. Things that you thought were safe, things that you drive down this road every day and suddenly it's like you're in a war zone. And you don't know if you're going to make it through this route alive. And so when you go through something like that, there's a severe sense of anxiety, trouble sleeping, trouble just going on after that, let alone having to pick up all the stuff if you do lose your house. And I think it's just that impact that'll last longer. And the other thing that is to consider, though, is even if you don't lose your house, sometimes you can be in an even worse off situation if you are in that neighborhood. So I had a friend, fellow minister, who had moved to Paradise right before that fire in 2019.
Oh, that's not good.
He didn't lose his phone. His house didn't burn down, but he said he wished it did, because he moved there because he needed to be closer to the hospital, but he didn't want to live in the city and town in the valley. That hospital burnt down. His road, the asphalt melted. He has no utilities. He could barely drive down his road in his car because it was so bumpy. They set in a curfew because of the looting, and his house had extreme damage, plus the asbestos in the air. The well and the water table became contaminated, so you had to truck in water now and have a water tank. He had just bought that house 6 months before that fire. He couldn't sell it. His house didn't burn, but it went completely upside down in that, and he had to walk away from that.
So he just walked away from the house?
Yeah. He had to let the bank take it and stuff. And he's not a young guy. He's in his 80s.
Oh.
But, so
he was a minister
like his
too?
whole nest egg, his whole nest egg and everything, gone. And a lot of that, he's like, if it burnt down, I could have hopefully got the insurance money, gone and bought a house somewhere else. But now I have to declare bankruptcy and walk away from the house and do all that, because it became, he bought this house at $500,000, and now you can't even sell it for $100,000.
Brandon WC37 says, so it could be a terrible situation for those who lost their home without coverage. They will be paying for something they couldn't sell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's just one of those situations. And I think looking at where this is, I know a lot of people are like, oh, these people are wealthy and different things, but it is, fire is, when you walk away from a disaster like this, it is a great equalizer, because they may be wealthy and able to make the month-to-month payments, but they may not be in a situation, especially if they're not actively, maybe they're an actor who had good performance, they're able to make money with residuals, but they may not be able to go out and replace that. And if they didn't have proper insurance coverage, or the insurance company goes out of business.
Right, and you're saying that in some cases in your area, when there was these disasters, people 5 years later are still waiting.
Yeah,
So
they're still waiting.
if it's an older actor that may have had, a big house that's expensive, making his payments, now suddenly, in a different situation now.
Yeah, and so it's and like I said, even you can have all the money in the world, but if you lose that sense of security and stability, and you realize that money wasn't going to buy you a lick of safety in that situation, that can be a great equalizer. Now, some of these people, like you said, they have other houses everywhere. The moment the fire started, they were like, okay, well, I'm going to my New York house, or my Texas house, or whatever. Yeah, there's plenty of that, but I think there's a lot of these people that people have an assumption that just because they live in that area, that they must have it easy and they can just write it off. People live a lot of times. Most people live right inside their budget, and where they push it to the limit. And like you said, most people don't have over $1,000 in buffer, and that's even true of some of the people who are wealthy. They have that wealth, and they spend that wealth. They have a nice car, they have a nice house, and they don't necessarily have tons of investments in the bank and money sitting there, and it could all be gone.
It's very true.
Oh,
it's very
well,
true.
But I just want to come on and
no, on a lighter note, maybe, I mean, now you can wear a few hats, because Nick also knows a lot about science fiction, about pop culture. So, Professor, surely we can lighten the mood here after all these fires.
Oh my goodness!
What is it that we were looking to probably talk about something today?
What other wild things could we talk about? Let's see.
Well, you were talking about the Switch 2 stuff.
Oh, I was talking about that
before
for
I
just
hopped on, yeah.
just kind of fill in some air, yeah, because there's been some wild leaks that apparently, like, there's pictures and videos and stuff of mock-ups of the Switch 2. They don't know all the specifics about it yet. It sounds like maybe we're looking at April sometime. For
it's
the
funny
next one
that
to come out, but
if that's true, it's funny because they're doing less press lead up than they did for the original Switch.
Yeah,
because the original Switch, it was like, wasn't it like towards the end of December when they suddenly did like that reveal trailer, and then in January they did a more in-depth video, and it all rolled, but it came out around that time. But it's just funny where we don't even know, this company's showing this stuff off, but Nintendo's being radio silent, so we don't even know, like, if this is just some company's fake mock-up.
Yeah.
But
the thing is that the mock-up that they're showing is really similar to a mock-up that's been seen by some other groups, some other leaks that have happened. So what's fascinating though is not just that we're seeing the mock-up, it's that they're at CES and they're showing off these cases and all these things for a console that in all practicality does not exist yet. And then they're not just doing that, but they're showing all sorts of features of the thing and how it's supposed to work. So apparently the controllers this time around, they're not going to have the rail system. They're going to magnetically attach.
I know. I don't think I like that.
I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. I'll be honest. I freaking hate those rails, because the little clips that go into those rails, my kids have dropped the Switch controller dropped the Switch so many times that I've had to replace those little clips that go on those rails on every last controller we have.
Okay, I agree with you there, but can you imagine if you're playing a game and you move one of your arms too much and it just disconnects from the system like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
It's gonna
what
have to be. It's
like
gonna have to be a nice sturdy latch of somehow that's magnetic. But yeah, it seems I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But having a less physical system that doesn't get broken. Or there's also the chance now the kids are going to drop the Switch on the ground and the controllers are going to shoot off in 2 different directions and skitter across the floor.
The other thing that I thought about is because it's supposed to be fully backwards compatible from all the leaked rumors. But if you do that with the Joy-Cons, will the old Joy-Cons still work wirelessly with the new Switch?
Ooh,
Those
yeah, who
Joy-Cons are like $60 a piece. So if you're
Oh, they
someone
are-
who's invested in
Yes.
having, a set for 4 different people to play multiplayer, and suddenly you buy a new system and you got to buy an extra 3 pairs of things at $70 or $80 a piece, that's an investment.
Yep.
I don't want to interrupt. We have a super chat from Jeremiah Hambre.
Oh, we do.
Jeremiah Hembry, sorry. Did you see the trailer for The Working Man? So I did see the trailer for The Working
not.
Man. I don't know if you're aware. This is actually it's based on a story by Chuck Dixon. And then what happened was that Stallone, I guess, wrote it based on a Chuck Dixon novel. And then the person that's starring in it is Jason Statham. It's I believe it's a action movie where a man goes to stop people who are involved in human trafficking. So there's something like that. It's like an action movie. I saw the trailer. It looked pretty good. I don't mind if you guys want to look at it. I believe that Nick probably won't enjoy this type of movie, but
Go ahead.
but it's just a trailer. It's going to be a trailer. There's a guy punching a lot of other people.
Ooh, punching.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, hold on. I mean, I don't mind the subject sounds interesting, but let me see if I can find it. Where do I find this thing?
Yeah. Well, while you're finding that, we can kind of wrap up. Yeah, it does look like a lot of the leaks that have been coming out are pretty substantial and actually on
The other
target,
thing
so-
I've seen people upset about is the earlier leaks were what NVIDIA chip it was using, and it was the
Yeah.
one with AI integration, and everybody's like,
Oh.
oh, but you know what? It's
AI.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo, anytime there's a major, it took them forever to get into online gaming, and they're still,
Oh,
I
yeah.
would say,
Yeah.
5 to 10 years behind their competitors and what they think online gaming should be.
They've had
And-
a console that's been out for 7 years that was underpowered when they released it. But
Yeah,
they're still
well,
making great games for it.
I mean, the Switch is pretty much the same power. It's slightly better than the Wii U. And I mean, the Wii, when it came out, used the same processor as the GameCube.
Yeah.
You know,
What was the
it's-
famous quote? It was 2 GameCubes taped together. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where they focus more on their software, which is why they always do
Yes.
better than third parties on their
They do,
systems.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
And
guessing
that-
this time around they're gonna it's gonna be an increase, maybe double the performance of the previous one. They're gonna move to 1080p. I'm sure the console's probably gonna have a 1080p OLED as its main screen, and they're gonna focus on an HD, and maybe they'll do something where you can plug it. If you plug it into a 4K television, there'll be some upscaling or something built into the processor or something. But I think they're going to focus on just HD gaming. I don't think they care that much about the visual fidelity. And the truth is that
I think they'll bring it up to the point of a PS4 Pro, maybe, just so that the third parties will start porting games back over.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that the Switch had going for it is you had like the entire Xbox 360 PS3 library that people like every time one of those games got ported over to Switch, it sold huge numbers.
yeah.
It's like it's a generation old, but now it's on Nintendo for Nintendo fans, and it's mobile.
Yep.
And so I think
Yeah, they definitely want to keep the cost down though, because I think they've realized that with the Switch, this is something where they're not just selling one to a household; they're selling 3 or 4.
Right.
And if they can do the same thing with the Switch 2, where every kid has their own Switch. I know a family, they have no technology in their house. Their kids don't have phones. Well, honestly, that's probably a good thing. But
we're at the point where we're
everybody has a Switch.
Yeah. But we're at the point where we're now, PS5 Pro, so it's one of those things where it'll be a generation old, so it'll be able to keep that price down.
Yeah.
But it'll be a big leap up from what the Switch is, but not anywhere near what the competitors are.
Yeah, I really just want to see it just do an incredible job of improving the performance of the older Switch games, right? You can go back and play Legend of Zelda. You can play, Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah,
and it looks
upscaled
and tighter and higher resolutions.
I like the original Zelda.
The original. Yeah.
Well, see, Price, that's one of the nice things about the Switch is the Switch is like an indie machine. There's tons of retro games like the original Zelda on the Switch, tons of Metroidvania.
I know. Nerdporial, I think I was, doing something on Discord, and he showed me that he was playing Zelda on a Switch, I believe.
Yeah, but one of the things I'm interested in is now that we're at the end of the Switch's life, you don't see a lot of really inventive, really big first-party titles coming out right now, which means Nintendo's been so. All the hardware upgrades are nice. I don't really care about that. What I'm really interested in is seeing the lineup of games, because usually they come out with stuff that impresses to sell the new system. And, we've seen them kind of slowing down, which means they have a bunch of stuff for the next one in development. And so that's more what will make or break the system is the games. Because Nintendo, since they started losing to PlayStation and then Microsoft, they realized they couldn't win the performance race. So they've focused more on the experience, and I think that's their winning formula.
Yep. It's looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great system, especially with all the backwards compatibility. But
you got that trailer for us, Bryce?
Yes, I have it ready. Then you can continue. I just want to, because he was asking.
Move on to other things. Yeah, go ahead.
So listen, today's going to be hard. Let's all go home with the same amount of fingers that we came with. Let's get it. When my wife passed and I left the Royal Marines, a lot of people would have given up on me. You gave me a job. You were patient with me. You, Carla, Jenny, you're my family.
You're here for game.
Excuse me.
It's not your business. I'm good, boss.
Levin, was that some military shit?
Hey, you didn't see anything.
Just get my back if I ever need it. Jenny's missing.
She went out with her friends on Friday.
The police don't have the resources to work these cases. They take a report and forget about it.
Please, find our daughter. Where's the girl?
You a cop?
You wish I was a cop.
So these guys are next level. Look at those bricks. You ain't a cop. You're a working man.
That's right. Let's play. This isn't just some kidnapping. This is human trafficking. Remember Gunny?
Your blind ward buddy that doesn't know he's blind?
That's the one. You shot a foot to the left, I'll be dead.
I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. I will be your weapon sommelier for this evening. This is the real beast here. M14. Pulled direct from Saddam's palace. And I added a Bluetooth scope.
Where is she?
There's a special place, high rollers only. They can do anything as long as they pay.
Gangs, the mob, corrupt government officials, they're all involved in human trafficking. You're in the payroll too.
You killed your way into this. You're gonna have to kill your way out of it.
food as much. All of this is for a girl. I'm not stopping until I bring her home. That's for slapping that woman. That woman was my wife. That's for slapping your wife. Who are you? What are you?
Well, that certainly looks very eventful.
Jason Statham being Jason Statham.
It's a very Jason Statham movie for sure.
Sure enough.
Now, the thing is that most of the places that were writing about this didn't mention Chuck Dixon because it's actually he wrote a novel, and it's his idea. It initially was called Levon's Trade. And what's the character called? Maybe Levon Cage or something.
Levon Cade.
Cade, something like that. And yeah, most of the places that are showing the trailer, they're not even mentioning his name. But you know, I guess more us in the circles that know a little comics and things like that. Chuck Dixon, that's a good guy. So that's a good name attached to it. Sylvester Stallone apparently wrote the screenplay based on the story, you know, from Chuck Dixon,
Mhm.
and then Jason Statham's going to star in it. Listen, a lot of Jason Statham's movies are very much he goes and beats people up, and I guess it's either you like that kind of movie or maybe you don't like that kind of movie. Personally,
And I think because you're talking about that kind of movie, you're less likely to get a draw by going, oh, it's written by this person, because I don't think the crowd
they don't know anything.
typically
Yeah.
They're just wanting action. They don't really, oh, it's this great author or something like. Whereas if you had, you know, a super drama that's going to be, you know, up for the Oscars or something like that, then putting out a name there really promotes it. But when you're talking about an action flick, you're more interested in the fact that Jason Statham is going to be the guy in it than who wrote it.
So Estefobos said Jason Statham presents a Jason Statham movie starring Jason Statham playing Jason Statham in Jason Does Statham. That's pretty much, I think, all of his movies.
Yeah, that's the same thing I usually say about Zendaya. Zendaya is Zendaya in Zendaya. Yes.
Absolutely. Nady says the Fonz, Henry Winkler posted about the arsonists. Is there any new information about the arsonists?
I hadn't seen.
I didn't see. I mean, I saw what James Wood posted, and he was asking why they refused to name the arsonist. But Nick, I wanted to ask you. So you generally you like science fiction, you like comic book stuff, but stuff that's like overly violent, you don't love that.
No. So my thing is, you know, if it's like I like action films, like I like James Bond and Mission Impossible and stuff like that. But if it's, I feel like you get desensitized to some of the stuff, and then they always seem to want to kick it up a notch to get more wow, more gruesome, more that. And I've never been one to, you know, I don't want to see people's heads getting split in half, or like in some of these horror movies or something. Like, I'm not into that. I'm not into kind of trying to think of an example. Here's a good example. Something that me and Price disagree on a little bit, but the Netflix Daredevil. There's the scene when the Kingpin takes the guy's head in the door.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And does it like, I remember, like, because I normally don't watch a lot of rated R content, and that's not rated, but we all know that's rated R, that show, if it was rated. But it's not consistently that. It'll be one thing, and then when that moment happened, that kind of stuff just doesn't entertain me. Some of it is I see some of that stuff in real life. So,
yeah,
I understand.
You know, it's not not something that I take enjoyment out of, and so It can have good story. There was what was that one that came out? Was it last year or the year before? You did a review on it, Price. It was kind of a small production. It was during the writer's strike, but it had that studio had a
Angel
deal in it.
Studios, Sound of
Yes.
Freedom.
Yes, that was something that like everybody was talking about how good it was, but like the subject matter,
It was a difficult movie to watch.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: when I watched it, I felt that it's an important movie that somebody made. It is not a movie that you sit there thinking, "I love this movie."
Yeah.
I think that most people that saw that movie, you
Now,
feel even sick watching it.
well, this movie is also, kind of dealing with human trafficking and some of that kind of some
In a way,
similar
I feel like
themes.
this one is more lighthearted. I know that's a
Right.
weird thing to say because
Because it's about the guy and his
right.
action. But there will probably be scenes that are going to depict, what's going on there, the mistreatment of these young women and stuff like that. But it's more focused on, whereas that was kind of almost designed, if I understood correctly, to be more like almost
Right,
like a
that one
documentary exposing.
Sound of Freedom wasn't a movie that like was all action packed every second. It was really explaining to you more what's going on with these networks, how they're operating. I think that was a bigger part of the movie. The action, in my opinion, was rather minimal. It's not that kind of movie. Whereas with
Yeah.
Jason Statham, somewhere in the background there will be some human trafficking, but mainly Jason Statham is going to be punching and kicking and maybe even shooting people, and that's going to happen for it's probably going to be a 90-minute movie, I'm guessing, and for about 89 of those 90 minutes that's what Jason Statham is going to be doing. And for me it's kind of relaxing, it relaxes me that I at least am watching. I don't know why those movies relax me, but that's how I feel when I watch them.
See, I like the more goofy, fun, kind of what James Bond used to be.
Yeah.
The goofy, fun action,
They
stuff
ruined
like that.
James
Like,
Bond, though. They totally
No,
ruined
they
it.
completely ruined
well,
James Bond. Yeah.
I think after the second Daniel Craig movie, I stopped watching.
Yeah.
And I've seen every Bond movie before that.
Quantum of Solace. Yeah. It was
only
time.
the
It was
first-
time to check out.
Only the first Bond movie that Daniel Craig was in, I think, was good.
Yeah.
It was Casino Royale. It's not that Daniel Craig was so good at it, and I think the screenplay was pretty good, and it seemed like a promising new direction.
Yeah,
But
bingo.
then Quantum of Solace came out, and I can't really argue with you. I think that Quantum of Solace is the beginning of the end of James Bond. That wasn't a good movie, and people
No.
like the movies that follow. They're like, "Oh, isn't Spectre good? Isn't Skyfall good?" Maybe they were better than Quantum of Solace, but honestly, they weren't good movies. I mean, I didn't like any of those, and then No Time to Die. Really, Casino Royale was the last decent Bond movie. So you're not wrong
Yeah.
on that. Can't
And
argue with you.
I wasn't even a big fan of Casino Royale. Everybody comes for different things, and there's different eras of Bond.
Yeah.
But my big thing is I like the suave nature of it. And when Daniel Craig sits down at the table there in Casino Royale, he feels more like your action star, like we were talking in this, and less like the smooth talker could take any woman there at the table off with him back to his room, has the high-tech gadgets and but I like the corny lines from the Pierce Brosnan and Roger Moore eras, like and Sean Connery too. Like they had there's kind of a cheesy charm, romanticizing the spy, whereas he was trying to play,
Taking it too seriously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it felt more like they were
like Jason Bourne movies. He was no fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was no fun. That really, I mean, I think that in Casino Royale they at least wrote him to be a little more playful, even though I don't think he necessarily was the best casting when I think about it now. So somehow it deceived me into thinking that maybe it's going to be an interesting direction. Really, from Quantum of Solace, the writing, along with his somber mood and attitude, really took away the fun of the franchise.
Yeah.
Sean Connery, with every shot you saw him, just look at his face. He's already playful. He's playful. There's
he's
something playful.
smirking and he's
Right.
witty and he's giving looks to the ladies, and it's, you know, he's enjoying himself in the movie, and you can tell it's so much fun and it's so interesting. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm with you, Nick. I was never very fond of Casino Royale. I didn't hate it. I thought the
But
movie
I
was
feel like
genuinely well made, but
in the
I never liked
yeah,
Craig in the role. Never. Not from
I
the
think
first frame.
in the past Bond set, you know, like whether you had Jason Bourne, you have all these different eras. I think Bond always set the standard, in other action films that mimic Bond followed. But I feel like with Daniel Craig, they were trying to follow. It was almost like they felt like James Bond was outdated, and they needed to try to make him more serious to compete with the other movies, whether it be Mission Impossible or, you know, all these other friends, John Wick coming in, you know, trying to make James Bond more like that. And I think in the process, they lost what made James Bond fun and stand out unique.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think you could really pin it on the movies after Casino Royale for Bond falling apart. It really happened after GoldenEye. GoldenEye was fun. It was well done. It was an interesting story, and it had fun villains. After that,
I enjoyed.
It was the next movie was okay. Tomorrow Never Dies was okay. It had its really good parts. It had some really crummy parts, but overall, it was kind of enjoyable. After that, the next two movies with
I still enjoy the next one after that.
Really?
I mean, a bit of a guilty pleasure, but
goofy.
the last one he did,
The last one, Pierce Brosnan.
the last Pierce Brosnan one, I
Wasn't very
actually
good.
blocked that out. And I was listening to somebody do a podcast on it, and I'm like, when was Halle Berry in a Bond movie? And then I had to look it up, and I'm like, and then I'm like, I went and saw this in theaters.
Yeah.
Which
I
Bond
can't
was
remember
it?
a single thing.
Which Bond was it that at the very beginning of the movie they hold him hostage? That he kind of has a beard and he gets out of being like a hostage for a while. They're like dipping his head and like doing waterboarding for him or something like that.
Oh, was that Die Another Day?
Was that Die Another Day? Was that the last Brosnan?
That's the last Brosnan, yeah.
I've completely blanked that movie out. Like
it had a Madonna song. I think that the theme song was Madonna, and that like at the beginning they were dipping his head inside like a bucket of water or something. Yeah, I mean that wasn't a very good one. I will say though that Halle Berry looked very nice in whatever Bond movie she was in. It's all kind of a blur to me.
she looked very nice in Catwoman too, but that didn't make it good.
That didn't make it a good movie at all. No.
She was better in Bond than she was as Catwoman. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Catwoman is Michelle Pfeiffer. That's just the best Catwoman.
That's fair enough.
Nick, were you okay with that Batman, or you didn't like it? The one
Yes.
with Michelle Pfeiffer.
No, I was. However,
it was kind of grim.
my dad was one of those people that wrote in about that movie.
Oh, he wrote. He complained to McDonald's and to the studio.
Because he took me to that movie. And
Thanks to your father, we got Val Kilmer instead of Keaton in the third one. I didn't mind Val Kilmer, but I really
didn't either.
I think that I wanted another Keaton movie. I mean, to get rid of Tim Burton and Keaton and not to give us that third movie, that's really a shame.
The third movie, you know, I've got to go here in a moment, but you know, I kind of talked to you about how I felt about Jim Carrey in Sonic Movie 3. Like that third movie, I think had so much potential, but when what is his name in Jim Carrey, when they started trying to compete against each other, and then it just lost all seriously. Like Jim Carrey went way too Jim Carrey, to the point that it just got silly, and that movie to me, Batman and Robin is a guilty pleasure of mine because it goes silly enough that I view it like I view the 60s Batman. You know, but Batman Forever is just serious enough that everything grates on me. It's, you know, it is right in there. And so I loved it at the time when I was a kid. But now that I'm older, like I have a hard time like sitting through that movie. Whereas I don't know, there's something about Schwarzenegger doing all the puns, the ice puns, that just makes me giggle. And like, you don't take it seriously because when the Batman in that movie, that's also the one where the Batmobile had like the fins were like made of some weak plastic, and so when the Batmobile goes down the road,
they wobble.
Right.
They
wobble.
Yeah.
There was something that felt very cheap about that fourth one, and listen, I like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but man, as Mr. Freeze, I don't know, man.
But see,
That
but you
movie,
know what? It reminded me like the cheesiness, like it reminded me of. I remember there was an episode of the '60s Batman where Batgirl is tied to a table and there's a saw blade, a purple saw blade, that is about to cut her in half.
okay,
And the only way Batman can find out where she is to find out her secret identity for some reason, which is in a lunch pail. and him and Robin are debating whether or not to open it, but they pause for the dramatic point. And when next time, same bat time, same, you know, when they pause and the blade stops moving, you can see that it's cut out cardboard that has been spray painted purple. And you can see the corrugated parts on the edges now that it's not spinning. And I just remember, like, that's what I thought of when I saw the Batmobile going like this. It's like, this is just so corny. So I watched that and I just laughed. It's one of those like have a drink, watch it, and laugh type movies.
I understand. I don't take it very seriously, that movie, but I understand what you're saying, and I guess back
But
to
yeah,
what.
I got to get off here though.
Yeah, Nick needs to
All
run.
right, Nick, so great for you to join us. I know that these hours aren't easy for you, so really appreciate that you hung out with us. You're always welcome.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I don't bother you regularly. I know that you have your things, but you're always welcome to hang out with us. So if you ever have another opportunity, definitely let me know.
All right, will do.
Great meeting you, Nick, and God
right.
bless, brother.
Yeah,
All
happy
right.
to, and thanks for having me on, and you know, let me just give a little my perspective of
It
what's
was
been
a
going
great
on.
perspective. It was a better perspective than I could have given. I think that you being in California and having dealing with these type of fires, even though you live closer to the Sacramento area, or I don't know if I got that right, but it sounded like you have already been put through the ringer yourself with these insurance companies and these fires.
Mhm.
So I think you brought a lot of insight actually, and I'm sure the people here also that are listening also appreciated it.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of
and,
people are saying
happy to.
cheers, Nick. You're getting people are raising like martinis or something in your honor.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
But
Cheers,
yeah,
man.
I hopped on right after I got the goats to bed, but I got to get back in the house and
No,
get everything
okay.
settled
We don't
down.
want any trouble with the missus. I'll see you later, man.
Or the goats. Yeah. No.
We understand. We'll catch you later, Nick.
Good night, Nick.
All right.
Bye. Well, that was cool. That was cool. That was really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's see. What else? Oh, yeah, I remember what else we were going to talk about. That. Oh.
I have the video.
Yeah.
You know what? I was saying this. I'm one of the first people that tweeted this, and then today there were already articles about it. But actually, I already posted this. Today was the 9th. I posted this on the 8th, and I have a video of her talking. So let me try to share this. I don't know if you saw this video of her speaking. Did you see this?
Oh, sorry. I had a browser crash. So, what was it? The video of her talking
Yeah,
about
let
it?
me see. Did I?
Yeah, can you
Oh,
pull it
mine
up, or-
is crashing too.
Uh-oh. All right. So the video of Cynthia Erivo. Let's see if I can find. Oh, Price is back. Let's see.
Back? Yeah, that was
Yep.
a thing that happened now.
Yep. Yeah,
You
I've got
see
that
this?
video. I've got the video too. So yeah, there you go.
Okay. See, I did. Cynthia Erivo says she wants to play Storm in X-Men. Do you think she's a good fit? And I got ratioed. Like, no piece of the leg on this. I got like, I sort of got a lot of retweets, a lot of people angry answering, but I didn't see a lot of like here. But let's see what she says.
Is there another dream role out there that you want to manifest right here, right now?
I really want to play Storm. I know it sounds frivolous, but I think we haven't uncovered how grand she is and all of that inner turmoil that she has. So I think there's a world in which we could, I don't know, do something like that.
Is there another dream role out there that you want to manifest?
Now, one of the issues here is that, and this is what I've told a few people, typically somebody like Cynthia Erivo, for some reason, I don't believe she even knows who Storm is. Now, the fact that she's bringing it up, it's either somebody from her team said you really want that role in the MCU, or even worse, somebody like Kevin Feige saw that Wicked is making some money and said, hey, maybe she could be Storm. And I really, really hope that's not the case, because I think this is very, very poor casting.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's already got the history of fan blaming BS that's become such a trademark of Disney, right? So I guess she'd fit right in, but otherwise, like, I'm sorry, I don't see Storm with her. You know, first of all, Storm's fairly tall, fairly strong character. I'm kind of fascinated that they would think. I mean, have you seen the videos lately? She just looks like a twig. Looks like she'd get blown over in a strong wind. Uh, she doesn't really look the part. She's clearly obsessed with identity and all sorts of other stuff that she's gonna, insert into all of these, into any role that she takes. But it's like, I don't want.
Nady says Halle Berry equals Storm. Honestly, if you now told me it's either Halle Berry or her, I'm taking
Halle
Halle
Berry.
Berry.
In a moment, like she did fine playing that role. The X-Men movies were a little corny. They didn't take themselves too seriously, but they were also fun and enjoyable. And especially the second one is a really well written film. It's got a great plot. It's got fun acting. It's got some comedy in it. It's got it's a really well made film. But yeah, also
says
Storm is beautiful. Yes, that is as well. Yeah, not only is she extremely powerful, she's also very empathetic. She acts in a lot of the comics. Obviously, there's been comics with her in it for decades, and there's been TV shows, there's been movies. In a lot of ways, she has a very maternal role in the X-Men. And I'm sorry, but I don't see Cynthia Erivo embodying that at all.
So Marla Sharendorf says, I like Halle Berry's version of Storm. I think everybody does. I'm not saying honestly, if now there was a movie, Halle Berry still looks great. If suddenly she appeared and she was Storm, I think that would be fine. I still think if they're sort of rebooting the X-Men, it's fine to bring a new actress as well. It's just that Cynthia Erivo, for me, that's not who I would bring to do that. I really hope that this is some weird, either a ploy with her and her agent, and not a situation that somebody told her. Because think about it, would she really even know? This doesn't seem like the type of person that would even know what Storm is.
Yeah,
You get
I
what
would
I'm trying to
really.
say?
No, yeah, I would be really surprised if she actually knew anything more than
That's why I'm
that.
saying that
It's
either somebody told her to say this, or somebody has talked to her people about doing this, and I really, really hope it's not the second one. But there's nothing I can do. If like Kevin Feige hires her to do this, I think he's going to be such a stupid idiot. And really, if you think about it, they should be considered very lucky what happened with Wicked, that somehow it's doing all right, because her behavior leading up to the movie basically was a type of behavior that usually a movie falls apart because of. Meaning, in most cases, when somebody behaves like she did before the movie released, it makes the movie a flop. In this case, somehow the brand of this Wicked thing was strong enough that they managed to overcome it. But not really, no thanks to her.
Nope.
And I've seen Wicked, and I think it's not a great movie, and I don't think she's great in it, and I don't really, I'm not a big fan of her or what's her face, Ariana Grande in this movie.
Yeah. Oh god, they're so weird. Every
Yeah.
single interview they do, or sitting at a table at an
Strange,
awards banquet,
yeah.
whatever, they're always they got hands on all over each
They're so
other, and
strange, yeah.
it's like, what is up with you two? Like,
something wrong with them. Yeah, it's crazy.
it's weird.
Weird. Yes, totally.
Weird. Yeah.
In any case, I certainly hope that she'll be nowhere near the MCU. I saw also that they were talking about recasting T'Challa, which I hope that they would do that.
Yes.
I think that they should have done that from the second that Chadwick Boseman passed away. That they should have taken a break from doing Black Panther, not done Wakanda Forever, and then around now thinking of recasting. But instead, they released that stupid movie, which is annoying. But yeah, I guess the final order of business for us, there was Assassin's Creed
Oh
Shadows,
my goodness,
which was
yes.
now, I don't know if you want to share anything, but that was delayed again now, apparently, right?
Yeah, so there's a few things I can share here. Let's we can start. If this will open. There we go. Hoping the browser doesn't crash again. I'm trying to share something. There we go. There's a letter directly from the Assassin's Creed account. This was published for everybody. Don't need to read the whole thing. Basically, just saying since November, we've been thrilled to share our progress through gameplay overviews, and overwhelming excitement has truly inspired us. Yeah, right. Accordingly, our new release date is March 20th, 2025. We remain committed to delivering a high quality, immersive experience fostered by ongoing dialogue between our players and development teams. Okay. So yeah, that's from the director of the game there. So yeah, as Smash JT puts it, it's not a game, it's DEI propaganda. And then John Trent, just cancel it and take the write off. And then Valiant Renegade, yeah, but when will you file for bankruptcy? All of those right on point. And then one more there. We got our friend of the show, Master of the TDS, not actually surprised by this. No, nobody was surprised they delayed this again. So that's a disaster. I have no idea what's going to happen. It sounds like, of course, they pushed back. They were originally going to release this on Valentine's Day, so they pushed it back a little over a month, and supposedly have dumped another $20 million into the development of this game to over the last few months in trying to pull it up and get it ready, because it was originally set to be released in November, so it was pushed back to February, now into March. Also interesting, there's sorry, lost my link there. Someone was mentioning on something else earlier today. Oh, dadgummit. Sorry, I'm having browser problems here.
It's okay.
So
by the way, if anybody's watching this and you're not subscribed yet, now's a good time to do that. But go on, Professor.
Yeah, no, it's just gonna say. So they've moved this game back to March 20th, and so March 20th, 2025. Do you know what that's the anniversary of?
What is it?
That will be the 30th anniversary of the terror attack on Japanese train. Do you remember the sarin gas attack that happened? in 1995.
Yes.
That will be the 30th. That date that they're releasing the game is the 30th anniversary
So why are they
of
releasing
that
it on that day?
terrorist attack.
That's the weirdest thing.
I don't think they have any idea. They're too stupid to go out and look and realize that maybe that might be a really bad day to put a game out that's already pissed off a lot of Japanese people.
They're really not doing themselves any favors with Japan.
No,
Japanese like government officials were intervening here and like
yeah,
saying
because
that
it
this is
because it's
considered offensive.
yeah,
This
it's messing
game.
with Japanese history and doing all sorts and messing with
They
all
take
sorts of
that stuff very seriously.
They
Like they
do.
take their history stuff very seriously. It's not like here. What you have is you have people like me and you saying, "Oh, this is some woke nonsense," and we have a good chuckle. In Japan, they don't look at it that way. That's a very serious offense. They're very upset. You know what I mean? It's a whole different cultural thing. It's not like us making jokes. They take this very seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
imagine
insulting them. This is an insult to their culture. They take it very. This is far more important to them than you can imagine. I think.
Imagine if you were to make an Assassin's Creed game that took place in a black community, historic black community, Harlem, in New York, and instead of making the central character black, you made them Asian, and then you had them running around cutting up a bunch of black people with a sword.
It would never fly. It would never
would
fly.
be
Even in the U.S., it wouldn't fly. This is just stupidity, and the fact that they keep delaying it shows that they don't know what they're doing, and they know this thing is a stinker, and they know they're going to lose money. I thought that there's something with quarterly reports of earnings and things like that, and they're just trying to push it to another quarter.
It's entirely possible. I don't actually know what their particular dates are for reporting, but yeah, their market cap has absolutely collapsed since 2021. They've lost 85% of their company's values. Yeah, someone said or Africa or Backyard Artist says or put it in Africa. Yeah, you go to Africa. You have an Asian man running around cutting up black citizens with a sword.
Yeah, I mean,
it would be incredibly offensive and everyone would be pissed off. Why are you doing this? This is madness. This isn't a game. This is
somebody
some
here
horrible thing.
somebody here in the chat, was it Watcher X or something like that? I'm trying to think of the name of the person.
Yeah, Watcher
X, yes. He was asking, when will Hollywood stop with all these kind of more woke movies and maybe even games and things like that? When will we stop seeing that, if there's any kind of shift? Well, the games is a separate matter, but at least when it comes to Hollywood and the movies, I think that throughout 2025 we're still going to get a lot of kind of residue from that era, because these things, a lot of these movies are planned years in advance. Games, it's even more. So I think that over the next few years, we're going to see a gradual shift away from that. How much shift? I hope it's a lot, but I don't know how much. But I think that with Hollywood, gradually there will be a shift. That means that maybe in 2026, you'll start seeing movies that are a little better. Maybe in 2025, there will be a few. But it's not an overnight process. The studios that are smart, that basically picked up on this and already made changes, they're the ones that may get out a few movies here that are decent, maybe in 2025. But we're going to probably be waiting.
Yeah, there's still going to be a lot of stuff that's just sort of, it's in the system. It's got to work its way out. We're going to see a lot of that stuff come out in 2025. Man, 2025 is going to be, this is going to be a rough year for entertainment, everybody. There's going to be a lot of crummy stuff coming to theaters. There's going to be a lot of bad stuff coming out video game wise. The good news is you can hold on to your money. You can invest it, put it in a savings account. Go have experiences with your families. Go on vacation, do things other than spend it on movies and on video games, I guess.
Backyard Artist says it will be delayed until Ubisoft has another game to make up for its bomb. I don't know if I don't think there's anything else. They don't have an ace up their sleeve. I think this is it.
Yeah, he mentioned something like a new Mario plus Rabbids game or Just Dance or something for the new Switch. Could be. Those were good games. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to push it back any further at this point. I really don't. I think they've got to get this out and hope that they can make some money from it. I don't think they've got any chance of making money from this, but yikes.
I don't think so either. And on that positive note, let's try to look and do some shout outs to people.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go to the YouTube thing because there was the thing where we got kicked out and came back, so some of these
Yeah.
names disappeared. Watcher X, Estaphobos, Eraserhead, Argentum, yeah, Mary White, nice to see you here. Marla Sharondoff, The Dead Man, good to see you here. Rabnat Skubla, Istaphobos. He gifted one Price of Reason live membership at Istaphobos. That was very nice of you. I think I'm not sure I initially saw that. So thank you very much. The Dead Man, he received the gifted membership, so that's
Yes.
nice. And the Dead Man's cool. Argentum, we said that. Mary White, Jonathan Conroy, the guy with a cool name. Adam Gray, Rob Nutschool, I think I said. Watcher X, Nady, Adam Gray, Istaphobos, I said. Joshua Calkins. I'm trying as fast as I can.
So over on Rumble, we've got Kivo 1961, regular joining us here. Thanks, Kivo. Maroxtro, Phantom Monk, Pyromancer. I always have trouble pronouncing that one. Pyromancer, Dubro, Seth 420. See, we also had Brandon WC37 joining us over there. Atari Legend. Istaphobos also joining us over on Rumble. Let's see if I have any new
Istaphobos
ones.
is everywhere, everything everywhere at
Yeah.
once, or whatever that movie was. That's overrated snooze. Let's see. Adam Gray, I said. Robnut Skubla, the Twiki Kid. I think that's what it says. The Twiki Kid.
Yeah.
It said it was Die Another Day. I guess he was confirming that. Josh Shang. Nady. Thank you guys for hanging out. I love seeing these names that, a lot of these names are names that I see here regularly, and I really appreciate it. Backyard TARDIS, thank you not only for being in the chat, but also for hanging out with us. I think it's a nice
Absolutely.
conversation. Backyard TARDIS is one of those guys that, he's just a
Yeah.
genuinely positive guy.
Yeah.
Marla Sharondoff, I think I said. Staphobos, I believe I said. Eraserhead, Cosgrove. Istaphobos says Wicked hasn't even recouped its marketing budget yet. It has made some money. I think people thought maybe it'll do $1 billion. It doesn't look like it's doing that.
No.
It'll probably make like 750 million or whatever it is.
But there was reported that they had a huge marketing collaboration with a bunch of different businesses, which I know they did because I was in a Target and there was nowhere you could look where there was not Wicked merchandise of some kind, and they were playing the soundtrack over the freaking PA. So yeah, they had a huge marketing effort that came behind that film. So yes, if you look at the actual production costs, I'm sure that they've made some money, but I don't know if they've actually broken even when it comes to adding the marketing into the equation. So
I see. Well, David Shen, we'll have to probably all this information over time. We'll know more, but yeah,
eventually, yeah.
These things always come out at the end, like with Disney and all their wasting of money. So yeah, I think we went over a lot of these YouTube people. You went over the Rumble one. Yeah, so I
I think
guess
we called out most everybody. If we did miss somebody, very sorry. We both both got reset in the middle, so we lost our chat history, but we were able to keep some of it. just having the chat open in the
Watcher
from
says
the
Leslie
platforms.
Headland and Price of Reason walk into a bar. Ouch, said
Ish.
Price.
Oh yeah.
uh, in any case, it's been a really great evening.
Yeah.
Not great not for the people in California, but great that we were able to hang out and talk about what's going on over there. As we said, if anybody's listening and you're in the LA area and you're affected by the fires, we're thinking about you and we're wishing you the best. So hopefully, I don't know how they're going to do it, but hopefully somebody helps these people in California to put out these fires. And
At this point, I think it's honestly it's in nature's hands.
yeah, it seems
We're
that
just
way.
gonna have to wait and see whether or not they get some breaks from the wind, and if they, obviously the wind not only drives the fires, but it makes it more difficult for them to fly in aid and
Void King.
take out those fires from the air. So yeah, it's
Good night, Void King. Yeah, no,
yes.
sorry. The reason I
No.
was saying Void King is,
Yeah.
I guess, a lurker. I guess he was
Yeah.
listening, and at the end, he kind of gave his
Just popped
surprise
in.
tweet. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, Void King. Good night.
and
And good night to everyone else too.
good night to everybody else.
Yeah.
Joshua Calkins is glad to be in Northern California. Yep.
Yep.
But
And hey, if you're looking for something to do tomorrow night, you can come and hang out with us over on Adam Gray and Barbara Lawrence's channel B-Sides or B-Roll Stage. It's on both YouTube and on Rumble. You can find those there, and we'll be watching a sexploitation film. Ooh. Yeah.
oh,
That'll be fun.
interesting. So yeah, you guys should check it out. And like I said, whatever platform you're watching this on, you should subscribe or follow. If you're on Rumble and you haven't opened an account, you should open an account for Rumble and then follow our channel. Also, you should follow Professor R2, whether it's on X or on Rumble or on YouTube or any other platform. Professor R2 is there, and you should follow him. And I'm Price of Reason, and if you feel like it, it would be nice if you followed me as well. I think that on that positive note, it's probably a good time for us to head out.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.